Millennials of Reddit, what is it that older generations just don't understand? That putting yourself through college with a part-time job is literally impossible. The cost of tuition is freaking ridiculous and not at all comparable to what it was 30 or 40 years ago. I'm 23, graduated last year with nearly $60,000 in debt. I actually had someone tell me if you had bothered to work while in college, you could have been more responsible and wouldn't have debt. Yeah, okay. When tuition is close to $20,000 a year, you tell me where I can get a part-time job that will cover fats. I often had 2, sometimes 3 jobs at a time while in school and still had to get full student loans to pay for everything. Also, when you're in school, your job and only concern should be school so you learn things and finish. School is the only thing that should matter. We never wanted those participation trophies you kept insisting on giving us. They're the ones that gave them out, yet we're the entitled ones for receiving them. Love that juicy hypocrisy. The proper cadence of the double click. I'm not entitled for expecting you to treat me with basic decency. I get paid whether or not you like me, and being a paying customer does not mean you get to be in butt, threaten me, or enter my body space. The reason I can't afford a house is because they're $700 K plus, not because I eat out for brunch some weekends. Mate, it's clearly all that smashed avo that's holding you back from owning a house. Most older people assume that being on your phone equals mindlessly browsing Facebook or something. Meanwhile they watch TV every free moment they have and have the gall to act like it's different. I could be doing anything on my phone. Watching TV, reading books, talking to friends, homework, banking etc etc. It's not just an automatic negative. My friend has a Kindle app on her phone. If she's somewhere public she gets dirty looks and people make comments about getting off her phone if she's reading. But if she has a book, people say how great it is to see people read. She gets really frustrated. They don't understand that the way they look at us is the way the previous generation looked at them. This is so sadly underloved. I'm a Gen Z, and the boomers told us we were all lazy whiners who demanded everything for free, were unwilling to work, and would never amount to anything. I see some of my own peers starting to do it to their kids now. It's a vicious cycle. Stop it. How to be nice to retail workers. It is insanely rare for me to see a young person throwing a public fit at a retail worker. It's always people at least in their 40s, frequently older. Born in '85, I think that makes me a millennial. My mom dropped out of college, got drunk, joined the army at 18, met my dad in the army. They had a house, cars, and money in the bank before I was even born. Today, a story that starts with, dropped out of college, got drunk, and joined the army, doesn't end that way. In my head I figure 82-96ish as millennial. People who became young adults in the new millennium, 0010. Crap is expensive nowadays. Most of us can't even afford an okay place to live. Half of our generation is in debt. The other half is trying to figure out how to stay out of it. Crap needs to change. There's no way I see my kids, if I can afford to have them living in these circumstances or even worse circumstances trying to educate, live, and have a life all with one income. It's actually weird because inflation has been zeroed out for at least a decade, but specific costs like housing and health insurance have been going through the roof. So, yeah, a gallon of milk still costs $2.50, but rent went up 30%. Just because I work a full-time job with good benefits doesn't mean I can afford things like a nice ride-on lawnmower, newer car or a healthy retirement account. In fact, to be able to afford the college degree I needed to get that job I had to voluntarily put myself $30 K in debt. And that's light. I want a lot of the same things in life that you do. A house, cars, good job, family, retirement. I'm not unwilling to put in the work for those things, but the level of work and type of work required to get the same things are much harder, more expensive, and more complicated than they were when you were in your 20s, trying to form yourself and your life. Cut us some slack. That's all I'm asking for. That you can't just walk into a manager's office and say I will take one job please and thank you. I wanted to scream when I was finishing up my degrees and applying for jobs. I was living at my parents', because with 2 part-time jobs I couldn't afford to move out while studying, and constantly got asked what I was doing about getting a proper job. I'd sent out 12 applications that day and didn't hear back from a single one, but because I didn't leave the house I wasn't trying hard enough. When you're drowning in student debt, it's never a right time to buy a house or have kids. Every low-paying job isn't a stepping stone to working in the factory like you did. My graduate advisor scoffed at me for not wanting to take a job in Nick at $50,000 because I wanted to increase my financial stability in proportion with my degree. I know many people can and do live near Nick on $50K, but I would honestly like more slack money for some luxuries, and can find a better living cost salary elsewhere. He went on for a while about how I should worry about eating, but not much else because I was young and a trainee. Why? At the end of my training period, I wasn't making much. I was only making $45K, but was doing great because I planned well. I stared at him. You were making $45K in 2003, in one of the cheapest housing locations in the country. I am looking to make $50K, at best, in 2017, in one of the most expensive areas in the country. Just made me angry that my bid to get a higher salary like that is questioned. He really expects me to just trust the system that a higher paying position is a natural progression from where I am now, when it certainly is not. You don't need to call the IT department over to your desk just because Windows told you your password has expired. That my $1,500 computer does a lot more than their $350 Dell from Best Buy. Like CAD programs and other things for content creation. Talking online is still valid. I love when someone on Facebook posts some quote, supposedly from Albert Einstein, about technology surpassing human communication and turning everyone into antisocial idiots. Because apparently having a legitimate conversation with some guy in New Zealand over the internet doesn't count as socializing. How utterly fricked we are thanks to our parents' generation and their parents' generation. They say you should only spend 25% of your income on living expenses. For example, rent, mortgage. Most people my age spend 75% of their money on such. That I am not always playing video games when I am on my laptop. Neither am I. Of course I have a tower for gaming, rendering, etc. My laptop is a dedicated workstation for programming. That the economy and job market are nothing like what they grew up with. Things are pretty messed up for us these days. You can't pause an online video game. The planet is absolutely fricked and we need a scientific and technological miracle to fix the issues we inherited from you. Many of us don't even expect there to be a stable society in the next decade. Sorry we're depressed, but ignorance is bliss. We're going over a cliff and they're still in the back pushing. How I am about social security. I am being forced into a pyramid scheme where I know I will lose big. We didn't raise ourselves. Our parents were the ones who thought we should all get a ribbon. That most baby boomers created the current economic environment then lash out against millennials for not contributing. How about you guys retire already so most of us can move up the ladder and make a reasonable salary? Oh yeah, I forgot you guys didn't save any money for retirement, so you have to work until you're 80. No worries, we are going to flip the social security bills for you all, something that we never see when we retire, if we ever retire. That we are left to survive in the rubble from a generation whose motto was FCKU, got mine. So when we want things like, say, affordable healthcare, decent wages, and social safety nets, it isn't us being lazy buttholes who couldn't bother to find a job. That we are left to survive in the rubble from a generation whose motto was FCKU, got mine. Gen X is also stuck in that rubble. Source, rubble all around me. That we get it. We're a self-obsessed culture, and one that's getting progressively more liberal and tolerant. No one denies this. But the fact that you demonize us for it drives us nuts. Not every single millennial is and everyone gets a trophy child. Nor is every person currently under the age of 30 a reactionary idiot who wants to destroy your established family values. We genuinely want a better nation. and world, same as you. Oh, and on the note of the evils of each generation, ours may have invented selfie culture, but yours wouldn't let black people use the same water fountain as you, so I think I'll sleep easy with my fellow millennials. Everyone gets a trophy. My biggest complaint about this critique of our generation is that we were only the ones receiving the trophy. The people who decided to give everyone a trophy were our parents' generation. It's not like we as kids thought to just give everyone a trophy. I'm an older generation and I open my fridge, look and close it. Sometimes I don't even understand myself. Looks like there is some common ground between generations. Social media is literally just me communicating with my friends. You see me interacting with a screen, but there's someone on the other end who I love. I often hear that millennials are the worst generation, but as a youngster it was Generation X that was so awful, and the generation before that, etc. Frick off grandma. Grandparents loathed your generation as much as you loathe mine. It's not a brand new thing with millennials or anyone else. It's a cycle and will continue. Eventually I'll grow old and hate everyone younger than me too. Yup, all the crap everyone gives you millennials is the same exact crap we Gen Zers were told in the 1990s. Lazy, entitled, good for nothing, and whiny. That's why I just laugh when someone calls a millennial any of those, because I know it's probably bulls. That they are the cause of most of the problems they attribute to millennials. We aren't fiscally irresponsible. We were taught that we cannot have a job without a college degree and college costs 4-10 times more than when you went. That the older generation's future is in our hands and if they keep doing nothing to help us out there will be little compassion to help you when you're old and retired. Frick you grandma, if you wanted the nice retirement home you shouldn't have given me crap because I happened to glance at my phone in front of you. The internet isn't just for people who live in their parents' basement and have nothing to do. Actually, the TV is. Just how freaking tough things have gotten for average young people. You don't get to just walk into a manager's office and ask for a job. You have to go online and grind through a personality profile and a dozen other processes designed to screen you out before a human being even looks at your application. On-the-job training is dead and buried. Companies expect plug-and-play applicants with years of experience and all training paid for out of pocket. Income growth only happens by switching jobs, because nobody can count on regular promotions and raises anymore. College is ridiculously expensive and time consuming. Nobody works their way through college unless they want to take 15 years to get an undergrad degree. And when you're finally done and loaded down with debt, if you don't find a job immediately, everyone ridicules and criticizes you for choosing the wrong major. And dating? Oh my freaking god. Dating is a nightmare. All the policies and infrastructure that made it possible for you to buy a home, get a degree, and retire are all long gone. Pensions have ended, most unions have little political power anymore, and most jobs that people have in 2017 aren't unionized, in part because so many have been raised to believe that unions are bad, forgetting that unions are the reason you were able to make a middle-class wage doing labor. Most people these days work behind a food retail counter. They make minimum wage or slightly higher, have to deal with their unpredictable hours getting cut, work their asses off, and many do not have a union that could lobby for a livable wage. Many of these people have college or advanced degrees. This is the 2017 equivalent of the manual labor job at the plant, but there's no one to lobby for them. Does this sound like someone who can take time off and have a kid, buy and maintain a house, pay 5-6 figures of debt? Is this the society we want to have? This is not sustainable. I was getting ready to read all the comments from the young people born after zeros, thinking here we go. Then I realized I'm a millennial after reading the first comment. How to mind their own business. If your neighbor is gay it doesn't affect you. If your uncle wants to be an aunt let him do it. Just leave people the frick alone. University degrees don't mean crap anymore. That things like gay marriage, abortions, other controversial subjects aren't ever going to affect them negatively in life. Sometimes I feel like some of the baby boomer generation obsess and hate things that they will never have to encounter or deal with ever in their life. Are you really losing sleep over the fact that there are gay people who want equal rights in this world? My coworkers don't understand why it bothers me when they start with you millennials. as they launch into how we are so inferior. Co-workers, not supervisors, not bosses, equal playing field. Except this is the start of my career. I don't talk down to you when you ask me to explain the difference between electoral and popular vote. I'm half your age and I treat you with courtesy that you seem to be unable to reciprocate. How much of their success and progress was due to massive government programs and regulations specifically designed to produce that success and progress? Programs they voted to cut when they started wanting kids, us, and decided that everyone needs a detached house and a pool. Stop telling us to buy a house. Most of us will never own one. The housing market is still fricked. House prices go up as wages are stagnant, meaning the houses are debt not assets. That I'm 35. Depending on who you talk to, millennials were born in the mid-90s at the latest. They're 22. The oldest millennials again, depending on which definition you're using, are in their early 40s. We are not kids. We are not teenagers. You have been visited by the wealth rat. Subscribe in 12 seconds and he will share his wealth with you. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.